Okay, we are back. Now, all this stuff that we've talked about, like we know that we need to move our ass, eat better and all that stuff. Many people struggle with motivation, when it comes to improving their health. Can you tell us some science-backed ways to make healthy habits stick?
Yeah. Let me talk about how to make it easier. And I used easier as a mnemonic that I use, right? So the E stands for explore your reasons why, right? Yep. Anthony Robbins says, find your why, you'll find your way. He stole it from Friedrich Nietzsche. He who has a why to live for can bear almost any how. So it's really, and this plays into self-determination theory by Professor Decky and Ryan. And I interviewed Professor Richard Ryan on my podcast. It was the second interview I had. And they have shown across 30 years, looking at more than 50,000 people, that crossing the threshold of autonomy, where you find the reasons why it's important for you to change. Why will your life be better emotionally when you have succeeded in this goal? That is what really helps to tap into that motivation, right? Most people get started by what's called other determined extrinsic motivation, right? Which is basically they dangle a reward at themselves. If I get fit, I'm going to buy myself this, or I lose weight, I'll buy myself that. Or they feel guilty about their behavior, or they're being coerced or nagged by someone to change. And they are powerful motivators to change, and people will start. But these are your yo-yo dieters, the people who get off the cigarettes, get back on them, off the drugs, back on them, get fit, get unfit. It's about crossing that threshold of autonomy where you find your own reasons why it's important to you emotionally, and ideally linked to your values, deeply held values, right? So that's the first bit. The second, the A of easier, is about accountability. And for me, it's about getting accountability partners, right? So this is where I like social media. Stick it up on social media what you are committing to, because then there's social evidence. You've told the world, so you're more likely to deliver. But also it's getting somebody on the journey with you. Ideally your partner, if you have a partner at home, because if they're not on the journey, say one person wants to stop smoking and the other one doesn't, how often do we see that other person will sabotage? And it's not necessarily out of spite. It's because if we're partners, Glen, and I see you not smoking, that actually makes me feel shithouse about myself. And the best way to justify my behavior is to get you to do that behavior, right? And we see that all the time.
Like I did an online course at the start of this year. I called it the Glen James Reset, like press reset. Let's look at our goals and whatnot. And I said, you've also got to be careful with this accountability thing, because if you had this goal that I want to start my own business, you need to maybe have someone who's got their own business to keep you accountable, not someone who is a 9-to-5er who can't ever foresee that in their life, so they won't encourage you to do it in your life.
Yeah. Yeah, and it can be a coach. The accountability partner can be a coach. That's the sort of thing you're talking about, who's been there, done that. But it can also be a friend, right? Going on the journey with a friend or going on a journey with a partner. When you're not motivated, they'll get you out of bed and vice versa, right? So that's the A. The S is about scaffolding your goals. So when I work with people, say they want to lose 20 kilos, I'm like, that's cool. Write that shit down and forget about it. What are you going to do in the next 3 months? Right. And then, okay, let's break that 3 monthly goal down into monthly goals. Now let's break the monthly goals down into weekly goals, right? I like the idea of weekly stuff, because then it's immediate feedback. And then I like to turn it into behaviors, right? What is the process that I need to do on a weekly basis? And then every week becomes a reset. Sometimes your week's a shit week and you give yourself a 3 out of 10. Okay, that was a 3 out of 10. What went wrong? Was it Monday, Tuesday? Was it drinking on a Tuesday night and it all unraveled? Right, I'm going to do better this week and I'm going to try and make this week a 7, right? So that's scaffolding, or breaking your goals down into small bite-sized chunks, I think is really, really key. Then the I bit stands for imagery, and this is just about imagining your success. Waking up in the morning, imagining how good you will feel, imagine yourself being that person, right? And start to adopt then linked to imagery as I statements. I'm a non-smoker now. Why would I smoke, right? I'm a fit person. Why would I sit on the friggin' sofa all night, right? So I think that's the psychology bit that helps. Then the E, the next E in easier stands for environment. And you got to set your environment up for success. If you want to lose weight, get shit food out of the house. If you want to try and reduce your drinking, as I did a while ago, is take alcohol out of the house. And I used to walk home past Dan Murphy's. And sometimes on a Thursday night, I'd be walking past and all of a sudden I'd find myself in there buying a bottle of wine, right? So that, and it's even down to what we know is you're most likely to eat the stuff that you see first when you open your fridge. So put the healthy food at the front. Ideally, get the shit food out of the house. Don't justify having it by saying it's for your kids because it's killing your kids. So get that shit out of the house, right? Make it hard to do those things, but then make other stuff easy to do, like put your exercise gear at the end of the bed, put your exercise gear in your car, set up that environment for success, right? Mm-hmm. And then the last bit, the R, is a ritual board, right? So this is a board. I've actually got one right here.
Ooh, look at that.
It's a board where you write down your habits and you set yourself weekly targets and then you tick it off every time you do them. So this works in two ways. Number one, it's a visual trigger to remind you to do that behavior. And then when you tick it off, it releases dopamine. Natural rewards for the brain: food, water, sex, nurturing, and achievement. You do any of those things, the brain releases dopamine from your ventral tegmental area. It floods into your frontal lobes and it says to you, Glenn, that shit was good. Do it again. Right? So that for me is that little mnemonic, that easier. Explore your reasons why, have an accountability partner, scaffold your goals, break them into small bite-sized chunks, use mental imagery every day and I statements, set your environment up for success and use a ritual board.
Quick yes or no type things or choices. Do you think on balance the carrot or stick approach is better? If you had to pick one, a carrot or a stick?
Different people are motivated by different things. And there's actually psychology. There's a questionnaire you can do called the BIS-BAS questionnaire. And it's all about whether you're motivated by success and achievement or fear of failure. But what it shows, actually, the research is the closer you get to a goal, it starts to flip more towards fear of loss, right? And we can hack this, right? So I'm going to give your guys the accelerator approach, right? So if somebody's sitting here and thinking, I really want to do this behavior, I really want to achieve this goal, this is almost foolproof, right? So I did this years ago. It was my 40th birthday, actually. So it was 13 years ago. I went back to the UK and I got reacquainted with Guinness. And I came back and I was 84 kilos. That's the first time I'd ever been that in my life. I'd always fluctuated between 80 and 82. So I went to the bank and I took $1,000 out. And I went round to my mate's house, who I really trusted, and I gave him $1,000. And I said, if I don't send you a photograph of me within the next 28 days, standing on the scales at 80 kilos, you are to take that $1,000 and put it into the collection box of the nearest Catholic church. All right. I'm not a fan of the Catholic Church. I'm a recovering Catholic from Northern Ireland.
I was going to say there's a thing there.
I don't want to offend anybody, but the Catholic Church, not Catholics, not priests, the church as an institution is probably the thing that I detest most on earth, right? So, look, it may be you're an Essendon supporter, you hate Collingwood, right? You're going to give that $1,000 or whatever it may be to Collingwood Supporters Club or whatever it may be, right? Something that you hate, that donation to a political party that you hate, but have a third party who's in charge of that, right? Because what that does, when we start, we're highly motivated by the goal, but then as we get closer, it's that fear of loss. So this is the accelerator approach. Everybody I've used this with, it absolutely works.
Gosh.
It's got to be an amount of money that hurts.
I know. I'm thinking about an amount now that probably I need to do with something. Okay, my next one. If someone was just trying to get started with turning their life around, going forward, and we've talked about food, exercise, or sleep.
Yes.
Without getting overwhelmed, to get this ball rolling first, which one of those should people focus on first?
I would say a little bit of everything. But if you really have to pin me to one, I would say exercise. And the reason is that exercise is known as a gateway behavior. It opens the gates to other behaviors. And what we know is that when people start exercising and continue to do it for 3 to 6 months, they actually grow volume in their right frontal lobe. Particularly, they grow volume all throughout the frontal lobe, but particularly the right frontal lobe. And we know that is the seat of willpower. So when you exercise regularly, you're actually strengthening your willpower muscle, and then you have more willpower to then actually go say no to the shit food, or to turn your screens off an hour before you go, half an hour before you go to bed, those sorts of things. So if you'd make me do one, I would say exercise. But
And are we saying join a gym tomorrow, or just start by going for a walk? Like
you can. It depends where you're at, right?
Okay.
And again, I would need to know what somebody's like. Like if somebody did a little bit of exercise and their sleep wasn't too bad, but their diet was awful, I'd be saying let's start with diet, right? So, I can't give a cookie cutter explanation to that. It's the area that you're worst in, right?
Yeah,
is the one that you should start to move the needle on, and start small and measure your progress, right? So for exercise, the single biggest thing about long-term adherence to exercise is finding something that you enjoy, right? Whether that's some sort of a sport, but ideally doing something with others, because you're then going to be more committed to it. And then there's the social element to it and that sort of thing. So I would be saying with exercise, you've got to do something that you enjoy, and then maybe just tweaking the other ones. If your diet's really shit, start with one healthy meal a day, right? Then move to a second healthy meal a day. And like you, doing 2 healthy meals a day, and then fucking boom.
Usually for breakfast, I just do fried eggs and avocado, and that gets me through to lunch. But this morning I was just like, I got these in the freezer. I can't be bothered going to the cafe, so I'll just zap these with a banana and went to town.
There you go.
Finally, before I kind of close this out, gratitude journaling, yes or no?
Absolutely.
Absolutely yes, or absolutely no?
Absolutely yes. I have been a massive fan of gratitude since 1995, when I met a guy in India who had elephantitis and leprosy, and it changed my life. And I gave him some money. He was begging, but he left, and he was in this like rickety homemade go-kart, and I went to walk away, and something in my head just went, don't walk away. Stand here and watch this guy until you can no longer see him. Never, ever forget this guy. And every time you're feeling sorry for yourself, just remember this guy. Because what has he ever done to deserve leprosy and elephantitis when you are perfectly healthy? So be grateful. And I've done a gratitude ritual for 30 years. I've now taken it to the next level. I now have tattooed on my arm from the Stoic philosophers.
What does this tattoo say?
It says memento mori, which is remember that you are mortal, that you could die at any moment. And it's not about being negative. It's about getting up in the morning. I used to have it on my bathroom mirror. It's now tattooed, and just looking at it and going, how fucking lucky am I just to be alive? If you start the day like that, I guarantee you that is a game changer psychologically. To look then for gratitude around you. And for me, because I've been so into gratitude, I've now started doubling down on it, and I'm combining it with curiosity, right? And it's amazing, right? Sometimes I'll turn the water on, and something in my brain will go, how freaking awesome is that? Running water, right? Have we ever stopped to think about all the shit that needs to happen for you to have clean running water, right? So,
and being 8 feet from your bed.
I know, crazy, right? And then I'll turn the light on and go, now that shit's cool, right? How does that work, right? And then you get into nature, and there's stuff to be grateful for all around us. And for me, the reason why it's so important is that your brain commits cells to whatever you focus your attention on. So when you're focusing on gratitude, right, your brain is committing cells to it. And the research shows, McCulloch in the year 2000, people who regularly practice gratitude, they have more positive emotions, they get higher levels of well-being, they have more hope and optimism for the future, they're less depressed, they're less anxious, they're less materialistic, they're less envious of others, and they're more forgiving of people who wrong them. Like, who wouldn't want all that shit?
I think gratitude, and I've recently purchased a new journal. I haven't started it yet because I'm a lazy POS, but it's literally on my bedside table. New journal, all that. I'm going to start writing again, and that's the challenge. I'm going to do it tonight. We're recording this on Monday, the 10th of February, so tonight's the night, my friends.
Excellent.
And I think when it comes to our money, the gratitude thing can help so much. It can remove lifestyle inflation. It can remove buying crap you don't need. It can remove that, I'll just get this car. It's 80 grand and it's only 1,200 a month. I can do that. And I've been on this journey myself. Like, I just got a new car, at the start of the year, 22 grand with cash. I love it. I don't need a $200,000 Mercedes when I can afford it, because it doesn't matter. The rims get scratched. The freaking first day I had the car, Paul, a stone chip on the windscreen. Haven't had a stone chip for freaking years. The first day of this new car, I got a stone chip.
And aren't you happy that it wasn't a $200,000 car?
And this is why because financial success, your financial life is relative. It's relative to the person in the mirror. That's all that it is relative to.
Interesting little aside. You may or may not have seen this research from Sonia Lubomirsky, I think it was, and others, that about money and happiness. And there's been a whole heap of research. Ed Denny has done a lot of stuff about this, but really the money that brings you happiness is the money that's in the bank as savings. And a lot of people, they earn a shitload of money, but they're spending that money keeping up with the Joneses, and that doesn't contribute to the happiness. It's living within your means and having some savings. That's where money really contributes to happiness.
I had an email the other day in finishing. We've got a referral source, so people that want a financial advisor or a mortgage broker, they go to our website. And I hadn't seen this for a while. But it's out there, and it just shows me that no, it still happens and it's relative. They had a household income of $450,000, which is awesome. It's wild. It's nuts. Awesome income. They had the $100,000 credit card balance.
Jeez.
That is no different, my friends, than if you had a $70,000 income and a $2,000 credit card balance that you couldn't shake.
Yeah.
It's no different. The same thing that's in both of these scenarios is habits and behaviors. Simple.
Boom. 100%. Live within your means.